Hey everybody, welcome to Jimmy's Records and Tapes. I'm Jimmy Pardo. This week we're talking about 1984.
We've got it on vinyl, CD and cassette.
We've got pop, rock, heavy metal, punk, funk, rap, and new wave. All sales are vinyl, but you'll never regret all the music you get at Jimmy's Records and Tapes.
I'm loving music again.
Hello, welcome to Jimmy's Records and Tapes. We're talking about 1984. What was going on in the world? Sony and Philips. They debuted the first CD players. The Summer Olympics were in the United States, Los Angeles to be exact. And this is neat. My wife and her brother Andrew were part of the parade, the opening ceremonies. So if you have that on VHS, look for them. Also, Band-Aid. They released the Do They Know It's Christmas, which took over the airways for a little bit of while. Anybody happy with that? I am. Moving on. I also bought a Fiero. My first car. I bought my first car in 1984, a Pontiac Fiero. Where does your money get you? 1984? Well, gasoline costs $1.83, which I learned because I just bought my new car. House would set you back about $86,750. And a Pontiac Fiero, already mentioned in this very episode. The base will be $7,999. I paid cash. Right out of pocket. I was working at a record store, and I just gave him $8,000 in quarters from the car wash. The best-selling song of the year was When Doves Cry by Prince. The best-selling album of the year, I think for the second year in a row, Thriller by Michael Jackson. And the new artist, best new artist for the Grammys was Cyndi Lauper, who I find to be just a little unusual. The album of the year was Lionel Richie's Can't Slow Down. And today we're going to be talking about the already mentioned Prince and Purple Rain. The album that, of course, went to #1 on the Billboard chart. When I worked at the record store, in fact, we could not keep it on the shelves. One of us, either the manager Keith or I, would have to drive to the warehouse to get more so that we were not without Prince's Purple Rain for the weekend during the rush. I mean, everybody had to own this album, and why not? I mean, it's loaded with hits. The aforementioned When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, Let's Go Crazy, the filthy Darling Nikki. What's she doing with that magazine? I'm just trying to read it. She's doing some business. The neat story I have about Prince is that, as I mentioned, I was working at JR's music shop at the time. I had just left Orange's Records and Tapes, but the assistant manager from Orange's, Brian, and I were bringing our girlfriends. He was bringing Kim, and I was bringing my girlfriend Dawn to see Prince in the winter of '84 at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago. And what we decided to do is we had a little scheme. We would take the Prince T-shirts we were selling at the store. And these are licensed T-shirts. We would buy them at employee cost and then sell them at the concert after the show and make a nice profit. Now, we didn't have the money to buy them from the store in advance, so we were going to use our profits to then repay the store the next day, and no one would be the wiser. So we go see Prince. Sheila E. opens. He's terrific. I discovered at that show I probably need glasses because I couldn't really see anything, and we had pretty decent seats. And so as the show is ending, as Prince is doing Purple Rain, which is in my top 5 favorite songs of all time, that guitar solo is, I think, second to none. Some would argue Prince doing When My Guitar Gently Weeps, which you can find on the YouTube, right on this very platform. But the Purple Rain guitar solo is just, I think it's flawless. As he's doing that song, we leave, so stupid, we leave the show a little bit early so we can go out to the car and set up shop so we could sell these T-shirts. And we have the cardboard cutout of Prince on the motorcycle. We set that up as if we're a store open for business. And we pop the trunk open. We've got 3 different designs. We've got every size you need. Let's go. Prince T-shirts. Who needs them? Prince shirts now. Prince shirts. Prince shirts now. Prince shirts. We have a crowd around us. It's got to be 100 people waiting to buy these T-shirts. The very first guy that says to me, says, "Hey, do you got a small in there?" And I said, "I do have a small." And I reach in to grab it. And as I reach in, handcuffs. I get put in the handcuffs because they think I'm selling illegal bootleg T-shirts. I say, "But these are licensed shirts." And they're like, no, they're not. And I said to Brian, "Hey, Brian." And he goes, "Right behind you, buddy." And I look behind me, and there's Brian in handcuffs. And we get brought to the Rosemont police station, and we kept on saying, but our girlfriends are back there. And they're like, well, they're going to have to find a way home because you guys are going to jail. And so here's these two girls that were still in high school. I was barely out of high school at the time, who are now left in the freezing cold Rosemont Horizon parking lot while Jimmy and Brian get grilled by the police. And they said over and over, who are you working for, Big Johnny? You're working for Big Johnny. And they would do good cop, bad cop. Listen, guys, we understand what you did isn't all that bad, but if they're not licensed, but they are licensed. We didn't really cop to where the shirts came from because we thought we'd get fired. So we ended up just kind of saying, but they're licensed shirts, and we couldn't really reveal how we knew they were licensed. Anyway, they kept the shirts. They released us, and we got to, after like 3 hours, they released us at like 2 in the morning to where Dawn and Kim were sitting in the car waiting for us. And we then had to repay the store back for all the shirts that we, I guess, stole. So that was a lose-lose. I didn't get to see the greatest guitar solo in history live, and we didn't make a profit. In fact, we lost money on the whole thing. To this day, I will go to my grave saying, I was not working for Big Johnny. Hey, this week's quick hit is from a band by the name of Industry. They had an album out at the time called Stranger to Stranger. They didn't really have a single here in the States. In fact, the only country they charted was in Sweden. They went to number 10 with the quick hit of the week, State of the Nation. But this whole album, which was produced by Rhett Davies, I got as a promo. And what that means is record companies would send record stores albums for in-store play. And I was working at Orange's Records and Tapes at the time. And it came in, I was like, oh, I'll throw this on. And it hit me right in the Pardo breadbasket. Exactly the kind of pop, well-written, kind of some songs, sappy stuff that I was into. There's great songs on this album like Still of the Night, What Have I Got to Lose, which I think is heartbreaking, Romantic Dreams. The neat thing about this album is a guy, the lead singer and writer of the songs is a guy named Jon Carin, who went on to produce many artists, like the Psychedelic Furs, lead singer Richard Butler, his solo album. He wrote that whole album and produced it. He also ended up being in the touring bands for The Who, Pink Floyd, and Roger Waters. So that's how talented this guy was, that even though Roger Waters and Pink Floyd are fighting, Jon Carin's able to bridge and be part of both bands. Now, this is a pop album. This is a pop song. If you're going into this going, hey, this guy's Pink Floyd related, you will be sadly disappointed. I will tell you this, and this is 100% true, this is the most played album in the history of me listening to music. Industry's Stranger to Stranger, specifically the song State of the Nation. That is this week's Jimmy's Records and Tapes. If you liked it, click the like button, subscribe, share the link with your music and vinyl-loving buddies. Maybe you got some cassette friends. I'm on Twitter at Jimmy Pardo, and of course I host the award-winning podcast Never Not Funny that you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, the record's back in the sleeve.